what we're going to go into is kind of habit creation, kind of automated response. I'm going to give you some primary focuses, and you're going to leave with a few specific things written down for your coaches to be able to check and make sure that you guys are moving in the right direction. And honestly, as a coach, everything that I'm going to talk through as far as power phrasing or what to use, okay, I try to hold myself to. And I'm not perfect, but I do a pretty good job of some of this. Okay, so the numbers that we were going through before to fly through them, you get 60,000 thoughts a day. You don't have to write this down. It's just crazy numbers. All right, of those, 70% are negative and 95% are automated, meaning they're not something that you're actively thinking about. Like you're not sitting in here thinking, breathe. Otherwise, we would have a few people keeling over on us if you had to tell yourself to breathe every time that you were going to breathe. Right? It's a subconscious action, just happens. Okay? But that means that we have almost 40,000 thoughts a day that are negative and we don't even realize are happening. That's setting ourselves up for failure. So if all of those thoughts are happening and we don't realize it, the only way to be more aware of it and realize it is that we have to talk to ourselves more than we listen to ourselves. And when I say talk to ourselves, I don't mean like just in your head. You can be the crazy person who is literally talking out loud to yourself. You can be that person too. I'm that person quite a bit. All right? You don't have to be, but it helps for sure. Okay, so other pieces, and this is wild to think about the power of this, but a negative thought is 7 times more powerful than a positive thought. And a spoken thought is 10 times more positive than an unspoken thought. So think about your self-talk after or throughout a game. Typically you do something well and it's like, but you don't want to brag. So like there's no positive talking about it. It's just like your little, but then you do something bad. And it's like, oh, I'm so bad. I'm so bad at this. Okay, well you even speaking that out loud just made an extremely powerful thought. And now it's a lot of work that we have to do to even get ourselves back to neutral. Okay, so the ultimate goal is that we have positive and we have neutral, but we need to take negative out. So if we can turn our negatives to neutrals, then we put ourselves in a position to be more consistent and find more success. So a couple things to note. 1, negative thinkers have higher levels of stress and anxiety. They have lower self-esteem. They have less consistency. They're relatively unstable, meaning like they can have emotional blow-ups or letdowns at any moment. You don't know what to expect with that. They doubt themselves. They have the victim mentality a lot of times. Anything that happens is going to happen to them, not for them. They're unhappy, and negatives breed more negatives. Okay, the flip side of that is positive people lean into joy and gratitude, have higher self-esteem, are consistent, disciplined, confident, have a challenge mentality, and positives breed more positives. Okay, because here's what happens if you do something and you're successful, you feel successful. And when you feel successful, you feel good. And because you feel good, you want to feel that again, and you've experienced it once, so you're confident that you can do it again. So successful people naturally become more successful. Whereas people who fail and get stuck in that naturally fail more because that becomes a part of their identity. The moment that part of your identity is I am a failure rather than I failed is the moment that you are not getting out of that hole. Okay, so when you find yourself digging a hole, the first step is stop digging. We can't just keep putting ourselves down there. Well, this person did that, and this person, now we're in excuse making, we're in something else. Okay, so when those thoughts become habitual, now we have situational paralysis. When you are a negative thinker, and that has happened so long over time, coaches deal with this all the time. We get situational paralysis. Our best hitter's up in the biggest situation, but they're a negative thinker, and the bat doesn't leave their shoulder with the winning run on second, and they take 3 pitches right down the middle. We're like, what are you doing? I didn't want to fail. I was afraid. Okay? Negative thinking. Okay? They're afraid of failure. They form negative habits. They lack purpose or motivation. On the flip side of that, positive thinkers have situational readiness. A lot of coaches have had the player, and you guys might have one on your team, that in practice you're like, who is this person? They are not good. And then they get to a game and you're like, they're a stud. Look at this person go, they're a gamer, right? I like to call them gamers. This person is a gamer. Well, they're just confident enough to believe that they're going to be successful. So they get into a game and they're more successful. Okay, you can overcome a lack of skill to some extent if you just believe that you're better than you are. Then you'll play better than you think you are. Right? So that is super helpful to get there. But here's the biggest thing that a lot of times we don't recognize as individuals is when we have too many negative thoughts, or we have a lot of positive thoughts, that projects to others in a certain way. And we don't realize how we project sometimes. Okay, so think about your actions. If you are the person at positionals, at team practice, making excuses, typically you're a negative thinker. If you're the one blaming others, somebody says, hey, why did you do this? And your initial thought is point to somebody else. Okay, you're a negative thinker. If you're argumentative, you're listening to respond rather than listening to understand, negative thinking. Okay, if you are self-loathing, meaning like you just want to feel bad for yourself when you get there. Like you want something to go wrong so you can just feel bad, negative thinking. And this is my least favorite, is apathetic. Apathetic is like, I can call it lazy, you just don't really care. You're just kind of there, okay? I would rather, I'm sure some of the coaches in here would agree with this, I would rather yell at a kid or get on a player and them look at me and say, screw you, coach, than do that and the kid go, and just walk away, right? Now the first one is not appropriate, that's wrong. But they care and we can change the response, right? We can help them respond better. But the second one is like, you can yell at me, you can not yell at me, I can play, I can not play. Don't care, right? You can't make somebody care. You can help them change responses, okay? So we want you to care. And we know at the younger ages, part of learning how to care is you're gonna care the wrong way sometimes. You're going to say something that you shouldn't say. You're going to get on somebody on your team in a way that like doesn't actually help and you make the situation worse. And our job as coaches is to help train you through that, what a better option would have been of how to actually approach that conversation. But we want you to feel empowered to approach that conversation. But we can't have to force you to care. If we have to force you to care, I would tell you travel softball just might not be the right thing for you. I don't mean that in a negative. Everybody has things they love and things they don't love. Find the things you love, do those. Hopefully this is one of them. All right? Positive is extreme ownership. Nothing makes me happier than watching somebody make a mistake and go, hey, that's on me. Cool. Let's move on. Love it. We can own that. Okay? Being collaborative. I don't know if you know this, but in a team sport, multiple on the same team, they all win the game. So it's not either she wins or I win. We can win together. We get so competitive individually with one another that we forget that we're all in it together. Cue the music. We're all in this. Thanks. I tried that with the boys. They didn't. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. Should have. Okay. So here's where we're going. When we talk about automated response training, this is essentially your ability to train your brain or program your brain to respond to certain situations in certain ways. Now, there's a lot of power phrases, what we call them up here. I do not use all of these individually. I have players that I work with that use some of these. I have other coaches that I connect with that use some of these. I use some of these. The purpose of these is a simple acronym word or phrase that you can easily recall or bring back to your mind that helps you lock into the person you want to be, the player you want to be, or whatever that might be. Okay? You can take a picture of this. I have it on my social media. You guys will have access to these slides. If you want this specifically of what it is, okay, find me after. I'll give you my info as well, okay, and you can use that. But we're gonna use those, and I'll explain some of them. But here's the big things we're gonna talk through: is knowing all the information about thoughts, how they matter, why they matter. We want to go through how to create quality habits, how to develop tracking methods for those habits, how to automate those, how to develop a failure recovery strategy, and what it really looks like to be extreme. So the main slide deck last year was about these 5 things. If you were here last year for habit formation, this is what we talked about. And my challenge to you guys is you can create specific habits. Habits are great. But if you don't have habitual non-negotiables that you're checking your habits against, then we're going to develop some habits that don't necessarily fit the direction that we want to go. Okay, so every habit that you create, you have to have standards that those have to fall into for it to be a true habit. Okay, here are my standards. Okay, this is from an awesome book. Think Like a Warrior is what it's called. It's by Joe Donnelly, coaches, parents. Joe Donnelly is awesome with like kids mental training books. There's stories, really good stuff. We used this for high school last year. It was huge for our program. Okay, number 1, control the controllable, CTC. If I can't control it, I can't complain about it. Very simple. Just right there, we eliminate 80% of complaints. Most of the time we complain about things that we can't control. Okay? Number 2, attack the day with joy and enthusiasm. That's a choice, y'all. I didn't want to today. I'll be blatantly honest with you guys. I woke up, I saw the weather. I was like, my computer's freaking out. I was like, we finally have a Sunday that I don't have to be at extra innings from, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And now I gotta go do mental training. Ugh. And then you look outside, the weather's awful. I just wanted to lay on the couch, snuggle my dogs and my family, and do nothing all day. I'm sure some of you are in the same boat. But you have to make the choice to get over that, and get over that quickly. Okay, so you gotta make a choice. Attack the day with joy and enthusiasm. Let's go. Let's get it. Some of you have heard me at positionals before, like I'll be sitting in the lobby area when it's not my stuff to run. And about 5 minutes before it's mine, I say, all right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, get myself, I gotta go pee, and I'm gonna get hyped up and ready to roll. Everybody kind of giggles, but that's real. I go to the bathroom, I look at myself, let's get it, let's go, right before I walk out. Because you have to believe that you can do the things you say you're going to do or be the person that you say you're going to be in order to actually be that person. So if that means you talk to yourself and other people think you're crazy, that's fine. Right? They're going to think whatever they want to think anyways, regardless of what you do. Okay? It's a you versus you mentality. We can't compete against our teammates in a game and think that we're going to win. Be better than you were the day before. And when somebody else around you that is on your team is experiencing success that you want, be the biggest cheerleader for them. Okay? Karma is a great thing. You cheer for them, you're in their corner, you feel that, that's going to breed more success for you. But it's really easy when you're the one on the bench and the player in your position makes a diving play and you're like, dang, wish they missed it. Right? Because you want to play, and I get it. Okay, we all struggle with those thoughts at every single level. All right, so you have to compete against you. Being relentless is huge. Kobe Bryant's one of my all-time favorite athletes. I think his mentality was top-notch. And one of the things that he talked about was being relentless enough that accomplishing a goal, all that meant was on the same day you have to set a new goal. That you could never fully accomplish what you were trying to do because being relentless meant that as soon as you accomplish it, there's more to get done. It's the relentless pursuit of excellence, knowing that you will never actually reach every single thing that you set out to reach. Because if you do, then what's next? Be relentless in everything that you do. And then faith over fear. So this is kind of scientific, and I'll try to give you the quick version of it and not be too scientific. There are two ways that your brain can think. We have one called ETO, that's external task orientation. One called ISO, which is internal self-orientation. Okay, so here's what ISO looks like. It's easy to remember because it's ISO, right? Like isolation. ISO means that all of my thoughts are really my feelings. That I'm in a game and I'm like, man, I don't want to strike out here because I don't know what my dad's going to think if I fail at this rep, or what my coach is going to do because the last time I was in this situation I failed, or as you guys get older, like there's this other team watching or these coaches here from college and I can't fail in front of them. Okay, so ISO is the idea that our thoughts are being led by our feelings, and typically they're about two things. They're either about the past or they're about the future. Gets us out of the present mind, focuses on everything else. Now, there's a time and a place to have self-oriented thoughts of our feelings, but that's not during the game because those thoughts aren't going to help us. During the game, we want to be ETO, external task orientation, meaning that all of my thought is on the task that I'm trying to accomplish right now. If I'm pitching and it's a 3-2 count, all of my thought is hit the glove, throw a strike, can't touch me. Whatever that thought is, but there is no other thought. It is not what happens if. Because for every what happens if, there's a what happens if not. All right, so don't go there. Live it out, deal with the result. Okay, find out before you freak out. Do it, see what the result is, then we can respond to that. All right, so it's important to recognize the difference of just where your head goes, because the science behind it is that basically, if you think about roads, you have a one-way road from your brain to all the organs in your body. And your brain tells your organs how they're supposed to act or be in certain situations, right? Obviously blood flows, there's different things, but you have one specific nerve that sends information from your brain everywhere, okay? That same nerve only receives information from one place, and that's your heart. Okay, so the simple idea that you are led by two things, you are led by your brain and you are led by your heart, is very important to recognize. But a lot of times when a coach is telling you stop overthinking, what they're really telling you is stop overfeeling. Because overthinking comes across as, well, I don't want to fail. I don't want to let my teammates down. I don't want to get cut from this team in the future. I want this starting position. They're all feelings. They just come out as thoughts. Right? So in game, we want our brain to lead us. Out of game, we can let the emotion lead as we reflect and kind of talk through how we felt and figure some of those things out. Okay, but there's a huge difference between the two, and your success will be predicated by some of those things. All right. When we set these habits and we really start to track these, the key is that you have something to track it. Now, I'm 33 years old, but I got to tell you, like, our kids have a sticker chart. If I had a sticker chart, I would crush it. Because I'm a winner. I'm good at things. You put it on a sticker chart, I'm going to win. I'm going to have the most. Right? It's just how I operate. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same way. Like, you see it, you can be like, all right, I'll do these habits every day. Yeah? Well, let me throw a sticker chart up and see what your success rate is. And suddenly you're slapping stickers every night. Right? You're crushing. Okay? So we want to track our habits. We want to stack our habits, meaning like do them in a row. It's easier once you get going. It's like pushing a snowball down a hill. You don't want to get in the way of that. Let it roll down the hill. Finish all your habits. Cold shower, make bed, feed dogs, morning writing, morning reading, morning post, morning schedule. Let's get to work. Boom. All right? Just like one after the next. Because the moment you sit, if you're anything like me, you sit, you rest, that could be anywhere from 3 minutes to 48 hours. You know, I don't know when I'm getting up next. Just depends, right? And you gotta stay active with what you're doing. So you stack the habits, you use a habit tracker, like a sticker chart or a checklist, and then incentivize yourself. And hold back the things that you love. My kids stink at this. I stink at this sometimes. Most people stink at this. All right? And that's okay at these age groups. Like, you have to stink at something before you figure out how to be good at it. That's part of the process. All right, but what I mean is, like, I like video games. I know I'm 33. I'm like a grown man who still plays video games. But it's who I am. Okay? I love it. At one point in my life, I was in the top 1% in the world in MLB The Show, in the Major League Baseball video game. I was incredible. It was unhealthy. I played too much, but I was incredible, right? Recently with video games, I've been awesome at this in the last year. I have my daily plan, and I will not touch a video game until all of those things are done, right? So what is it that you love? You a big Fortnite player? Cool. Don't do it. Yeah, you like Fortnite? Great. Don't turn it on until you've done your morning routine, you're hitting, whatever it is, for whatever those habits are that you need to hold yourself accountable for. And they don't all have to be softball. Like, whatever that is for your life is great. But if you incentivize the things that you really like to do, that really aren't a benefit to you in any way, then suddenly the benefits to you get done before the fun things, and then you get consistent with it. Because if you're not able to do the one thing, you don't want to do the stuff that you need to do, then you don't get to do the things that you want to do. It's that simple. All right? So that's what that piece looks like. Where are we at? Okay. So when we get to automating self-talk, the more that we can create our process, just like you're a hitter, you go in, you create your process, your feel. We want to do the same thing with our brain and the way that we talk to ourselves. So number one, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't train your brain every day, it's training itself. If you don't swing every day, your swing's going to get worse. If you don't field every day, your fielding's going to get worse. If you don't train your brain every day, your thought process is going to get worse. Okay, so that's got to be active. Okay, 1 PB, 1% better. That's how we get 1% better every day, 1424. Every single day. Spend it on your mind. Okay, number two, who is your character? Now, I know as a kid growing up, I'd go to my front yard and I'd pretend to be Ken Griffey Jr., Sammy Sosa, and I would hit home runs in the front yard and hit walk-offs. But I also remember that if I was trying to hit a walk-off as a player and I swung and missed, it was always, the umpire was always in my favor, right? Like, oh no, foul ball, you get to go again. And you're there until you're successful. If I was ever in my driveway doing the countdown to hit a game-winning three-pointer, 3, 2, 1, I missed, it's like 10, 9, 8, suddenly the clock just keeps going, right? But you're so in character in that moment, and because you control the whole situation, there is no failure. So we can be in character. But when you guys go to play a softball game, you struggle to know who you are. So you have to develop your character. Who are you as a character? When you think about, you show up to a game, the other team sees you, team-wise and individually. What do they see when they see you? Are they like, we're going to roll this team? They're not paying any attention. They're running around, they're whatever. Or do they see you and they're like, dang, she's kind of intimidating. Dang, she looks good. She looks mean. She looks tough. Or is it, man, that team looks like they have a lot of fun. That girl is so joyful. Like, she clearly loves softball. None of those are bad. You just got to know who you want to be. Because everybody plays better when they feel like they're the character that they want to be. You want to be intense and intimidating, be that. You want to be joyful and fun, be that. But the more that you can lean into what it is that you're being, the easier it is to be that person consistently. At 50. Yeah. All right? So, SIC, stay in character. Be that person every single day. All right? Get specific, and this is really what I want you guys to write down. And if you are going to write this down, I would take 3 lines. Just write DHP on those 3 lines, one under the next. Because you're gonna write 2 things for each one here. DHP. When we say get specific, here's what I want you to think. If I am a defender in a softball game, most of the time there is roughly 80 to 100 pitches on the defensive side of the ball in a softball game. So it's 80 to 100 times that I am getting my prep step or preparing for a pitch. Okay? And typically what you do in those 15 seconds between pitches is you're like, hey, here's our situation. Here's where we're going with the ball. Yeah, cool. Now I'm ready. But there's nothing intentional or positive about what you're saying to yourself to build your confidence. Right? So think about how powerful it would be if, hey, here's our situation. Here's what we're doing. Pitcher gets ready to throw, and it's WTB, ATB. Prep set. That's want the ball, attack the ball. Right? Next pitch happens, want the ball, attack the ball. Want the ball, attack the ball. 100 times all game. And you play what? Sometimes 4 games in a day, sometimes 5. That's 400 times in a day. You play 60 to 80 games in the summer. That's like 8,000 times that you are telling yourself, want the ball, attack the ball. That you're telling yourself, smooth like butter. That you're telling yourself, BTG, be that girl. HJ, have that attitude. Let's go. Be confident. Attack. Okay? So it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's meaningful to you, but it's the consistency over time of repeating these things to ourselves, building our belief system to a point that we believe it so much that we know it to be true, and saying it over and over, so that way when it's bases loaded, 2 outs in the last inning, you're not like, oh boy, please don't hit me the ball. Nah, it's pitch number 97, and for the 97th time, you want the ball, attack the ball. Let's go, boom, game over. We make the play. Right? It's all confidence. But if you're not intentional about it, it's not going to create itself. Okay? Hitting, same thing. 10 plus times a game that you're going to see pitches, probably more. All right. Geo, game on. You got a one-on-one matchup. CA, challenge accepted. You got somebody throwing hard, let's go. Game on, challenge accepted. PMR, prove me right. Because it ain't about proving anybody else wrong. Who do you believe you are? Go be that. All right, prove me right. Pitching wise, same things 30 plus times. A lot of times more than that, pitches you're getting in the game. What are you saying? Right, you throw the ball straight over somebody's head on the first pitch of the game, but you chucked it. And we're like, ooh, not great. That hitter's like, ooh, not excited. Right? We want them to feel that, but we want them to feel it worse. So you throw it over their head, and it was hard. You just stare at them like it wasn't an accident. Give me the ball back. Let's go, get back on the mound. Come on. Can't touch me. Can't touch me. Think about if you're in the box and you see the pitcher out there literally talking, can't touch me. Can't touch me, can't touch me. You're like, this girl is nuts. But she's probably good, right? You don't see people out there talking to themselves all the time who aren't good. All those players are pretty good, okay? Because they're intentional about it. So the more that you can buy into talking to yourself, recognizing you're going to look like a crazy person either way, because everyone's going to have their own opinion, do the things that help make you successful. So for each of these, I want you to write that automated thought that is like specifically your baseline. You're going into a game. What does that look like for you? What is your defensive thought between pitch, your hitting thought between pitch, your pitching thought between pitch? If you don't pitch, you don't have to have one there. That's fine. All right? One of the most powerful things that I heard at our National Baseball Convention this year, okay, was be intentional about your thoughts because your body is listening. Like, think about that. Because your body responds to what your brain tells it. So if we're telling ourselves negatives, our body responds negatively. So we have to be intentional about our thoughts because it's going to affect our swing. It's going to affect our defense, all that. Okay, and here's the last piece that I want you guys to focus on. Okay, same thing with automated responses, but think, we're not crazy enough to believe that there will never be anything that goes wrong. Right? Like the sports and life are real things. And we can be as positive as we want, but life will still throw things our way. A game will still throw things our way. An umpire still won't be able to see. Okay? Expect that as the baseline. All right? Those things happen. Okay, so we have to stay in character and be specific on how we recover because your thought might be different. So think about this. If I'm on defense, want the ball, attack the ball, and suddenly I make an error, I might need to change that thought for a pitch. GTM1, get the next one. Right? BLH2O, be like water. Be fluid, be flowing. Okay? Win. What's important now? One of my favorite power phrases, win. What's important now? The only thing that you can control. What is important now? Getting the next pitch. Right? Knowing what that is. Rig, run it back. Run it back. If we ever do an infield competition, fielding competition, and you beat me, I'll give you nucks. But as that's happening, I'm saying run it back. Because that was an accident. There's no chance I lose again. Right? Run it back. Confidence, even though we failed. Run it back. Okay? And ILE, I love everything. Okay? I love it. I love everything. You're good. You're good. Okay? So, what I want you to do, pitch one mentality, there's so many on here. For each of those lines, your defensive line, your hitting line, your pitching line, you should have your automated response. What's your baseline, your go-to to start every game? And then when you fail, what's your FRS, your failure recovery strategy for each of those next to it? When I fail, this is where my mind's going to go to get me back. Get me back locked in and focused to what I'm doing. And the last piece is just be extreme, y'all. Okay? We feel like we have to be apologetic about pursuing something that we want to be excellent in. Apologetic in like being extreme or caring a lot about something. Our world is really good at telling us that we're not supposed to care deeply about anything. That we're just supposed to like go with the flow and be whatever. Okay? I would challenge you to refuse to live your life that way. You get one of these. Be passionate about what you love. If you don't love something, don't continue to do it. Find something that you do love. Okay? But whatever you choose to do, be the best that you can be at it. And that means working on it as hard as you can, as much as you want to work on it. Right? So if you want to be a great softball player, you have every opportunity to go and be a great softball player. But I'll be the first one to tell you, even though like this is a program that I have a lot of belief in, if you would rather like go and be a phenomenal actress and that's where you want to devote all your time, by golly, go and be a great actress. And if you don't know yet, do them all for now. You're young. Make a decision as you get older. Right? But don't feel like you owe anybody a decision to do something that they want you to do. Okay? You owe yourself the decision to pursue the things that you're passionate about and make this life everything that you want it to be. And regardless of what you're doing, the ability to be extreme in that and power phrase yourself, have automated responses, and understand how to recover from failure, those are all important pieces regardless of where your life takes you.